What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Philip back with Thrifty PS Gamer Reviews. Today we're going to be going over The Last of Us Part 2. Now, I got this game when it was $9.99. Sadly, before I reviewed it, I wanted to beat the entirety of the game because I was very harsh on this game when it first came out. So that game is no longer on sale at this moment. But I did get it for $9.99. And they're probably going to be running that sale again pretty soon, probably close to when the series wraps up on HBO Max. So, we're going to get into this. I played it only because I made a deal with a buddy of mine that I would give it a shot once I beat God of War. And I did. And I will be completely honest with you. There are aspects of this game I love, aspects of this game I hate, aspects I think they could do different. But with that, let's get into it. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for stopping by. So the way I do my ratings is that I go generally by sound, graphics, acting / voice work if the game has it, combat mechanics, and story. Because those are things that I think that people, when they talk about video games, they highlight, right? And so let's talk about it. First, we're going to get into graphics. This freaking game is insane. Naughty Dog did such a beautiful masterclass on how to use every ounce of hardware that the PS4 Pro had to offer. This stinking flippin' game had me on the internet searching to see if they used ray tracing or RTGI or anything like that. I literally watched about an hour and a half to 2 hours of videos trying to figure this out. And no, they didn't use any of that. The folks at Naughty Dog are just that good. They're just that good. They didn't use any of the new techniques, the new tech, the new anything for the upcoming console, for a PS5 upgrade. The upgrade on PS5 is a 60 FPS upgrade. And so all of this, the way the game looked, was able to be played and seen on a PS4 Pro. With that being said, they do the absolute best job I have ever seen in a video game. Maybe next to a Ghost of Tsushima, because I think Ghost of Tsushima did some amazing work and Sucker Punch did a great job on that. But you have the most beautiful graphics, and that's not a stretch. It is a masterclass in how to make screen space reflections and ambient lighting work together to give you the feel of ray tracing. So that's my graphics spiel. I think Naughty Dog knocked it out of the park. So let's get into sound, which this is kind of a survival horror type game, kind of, sort of. And so sound is very important. Now, I played most of this with my Turtle Beach Stealth 600s. And there was an update given to those that basically made them 3D compatible for the PS5. And so I played a lot of this game with 3D audio headphones. And I will tell you that that will freak you out. I remember going in, and I was inside the lower level of the building, of one of the buildings in the game, which I know that doesn't help, but I can't remember exactly where I was. And it's like the first time you encounter stalkers, which are these little fungi people who they don't make any noise. And so you have to try to do things that lure them out. Because you'll hear them talking and grunting and scratching and clawing, but it's not loud enough to register in game and like on your screen. So you have this sound that is just haunting you, and then you turn a corner and the sound is all of a sudden like directly behind you, and you know you're about to take damage, you know you're about to get hit, and so you're trying to run away, but then the sound is a chef's kiss. I cannot say it enough how much the sound affected my enjoyment in this game because of how it was and how good it was. So Naughty Dog did, once again, a phenomenal job with developing the sights and the sound of the game. Now, let's get into acting. Let's get into voice work. I got nothing negative to say here either. This whole game, the voices were perfect. The tones were perfect. The deliveries were perfect. Couple that with the animations while they're actually speaking, while the characters are speaking, are absolutely otherworld on this game. One of the things you've already seen in the video is about a 30-second clip of me playing as young Ellie, and I go inside this house and it has a mirror, and I stand in front of the mirror and I move my head around very slowly. Then you can control the mouth and the movements of that. It's almost like you get a little like taste of how they were able to manipulate this, and it was really cool to see that, but it also was super impressive. Like, this wasn't a PS4, PS5 title like a Horizon Forbidden West or God of War Ragnarok. This was a strictly PS4, PS4 Pro. So, for the quality of the animations and the minute details to be worked out like that, I am absolutely, utterly impressed. So let's get in to the kind of final thing I wanted to talk about, and that is the story. And I know at the beginning I said I have some good, some bad, and some stuff that I would change. Well, the problem is that my good is all the stuff I've mentioned, and the bad and the thing that I would change are the story. Now, before you assume anything about me, it has zero to do with Abby being more masculine, or with Ellie and her character being LGBTQIA. I don't care about that in my games, but I also don't care if the game has that. So it has nothing to do with that. I hate the story. I absolutely hate it. I hate the way it was done. I hate the pacing of it. I hate every aspect of the story. So let's get into story. After all of that, it brings us to story. Let's get into it. Story is not only the thing I didn't like, but it's the thing I would change. And before people get on me, oh, you didn't like the story, it was great, you just can't handle blah, 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 has nothing to do with anything political or anything religious. I absolutely have issue with the story, regardless of those things. So, here's my issues. The pacing of it is terrible. You never get fully immersed as anybody, so it doesn't matter who you play as. Second, they jumped the shark way too early in the game. And I don't know if I'm allowed to give spoilers. The game is over 2 years since release. Let's tell you what, you're going to get spoilers. So if you want to break away now's a good time to do it. So you have a story that they jumped the shark too early. And by jumping the shark, I mean killing off one of your main characters that people fell in love with in the original game that sold so well and warranted a sequel. Also, let's talk about that. The original game sold so well that people on the PS3, PS4, PS4 Pro, and the PS5 now have all been able to play it. And new people have played it. Those characters that you made, you killed off one of them way too early in the game. Not saying that we should have kept them alive the whole time, but I'll get to that in a second. The other thing with the pacing was the thing that I would change. I didn't give a flying rat's rip about Abby in the least. And by the end of the game, I'll be honest, I didn't care about Ellie either. I wanted to know what was going on in Jackson. I cared about those people. And they were on the screen for all of 5 minutes at the beginning. Let's get into why I didn't care. So, the game is told through a series of quote-unquote current day and flashbacks through the points of view of Abby, who is the new main character, and Ellie, who was the previous main character. And you end up starting out 4 years after the events at the end of Last of Us Part 1. And you and Joel are not on like really good terms. You have a girlfriend now, which is, that's expected on a 4-year leap to be in a relationship. But the thing that's so weird is that you and Joel are not on good terms. Well, that's weird. Heck, when I left y'all, he was carrying you out of a hospital and you were sleeping in the back of his truck. So I don't like that they start you out there. And then you go for a little bit and then you see Joel get killed by Abby an hour and a half to 2.5 hours in the game. And you see him get killed by her. And then you go back to playing as Ellie. And who cares? Abby just killed Joel. And so you progress a little further, then you got to play as Abby. And it gives you a flashback to Ellie, and then it takes you to Abby. Playing as Abby is cool. She hits like a freaking tank. I loved melee combat with Abby. But you start off with playing as her, and then at the end of her segment, you get a flashback. And the flashback actually explains, by the way, now you're probably 10 hours, 12 hours into the story, about halfway. And now you're told, why she doesn't like Joel and why she tried to kill him. And, okay, well then from that point, you're kind of back told her story. From 5 years ago or 6 years ago at that point, maybe 5 years ago at that point, from her dad getting shot in the hospital, which that's when you find out that it's her dad. And so you find out why you're supposed to give a shit way too late in the game. And I don't like that. If they would have built it up and started directly after the hospital, and now you move to Jackson, now you're here, this is what happens, and then kind of space that out with Abby, young Abby cutscenes and young Abby story missions and things like that, I think the game would have been a whole lot more impactful, because then when Joel dies, then you're conflicted. You're like, well, dang, man, I've seen this girl grow up with her dad. They've gone to a lot of the same places you took Ellie to, and they've done a lot of the same things, and it's a loving father-daughter relationship, just like yours is a loving surrogate father, surrogate daughter relationship. Like, it would have brought so much more weight to that story. Because then, in that scene, you see and feel Abby and her pain, and you feel for her. And then you see and you feel Ellie's pain, and you feel for her. And you literally don't know which side to take at that point. Because yes, he did kill her father. But it also wasn't necessarily right for him to do that either. But he was trying to save Ellie. So you're presented with this whole structure that we're supposed to care about 2 hours in, that if they would have put it 12 hours in, it would have made a whole lot more sense. And then you start the chase missions, as I call them, where you have Abby coming in one way and Ellie coming in the other, and they both merge up in the middle, and then your final fight is against Abby. And, like, they can still use all the same footage they already did. But the order of the events is crap. And if they would have changed the order of the events, this game, in my opinion, would have been the most easiest 10 out of 10 I could have ever given a video game. But because the categories that I have gone over, because those other ones, the graphics, the sound, and then the acting and voice work, because all of that was so good, I'd still have to give this game an 8 out of 10, because those things bring up the story to a level that's very passable for a game. So, am I going to play it again? Absolutely not. Am I going to dog on people who play it? If they tell me the story is great, I will. But at the end of the day, $9.99, I spent 40 hours with this game. I'd get it. Give yourself a chance to make your own opinion. There is no reason that other people, especially people on YouTube, and I'm trying to be one of them, should be able to play these games and tell you how good and or bad they are. This is one that if you can find it for $15 and under, I'd go ahead and put the money up and go ahead and get it. It'll be well worth your time. And if you're a gamer like I am, you'll really marvel at all of the graphical prowess, however you need to say that. Anyways, guys, thank y'all for stopping by. Appreciate those of y'all who watched to the end of the video. I will be doing a giveaway soon for a digital code of God of War Ragnarok. So be paying attention for that. And guys, as always, stay thrifty.